you told them you want to do 1 million, or you think they could do 1 million?
We can do 1 million. We already had a really good product. We already had a really good price. We could go into any market and crush.
In this episode, I talked to Matthew Hall on our strategy team on all the work he did to get a brand to $1 million a month. A few takeaways I really like about this particular interview is, number one, our team does not think like others. We're not just talking about some running ads. No, the deep strategy we do before we ever hit $1 million a month, from pivoting, rebuilding systems with the brands we work with, going into new international markets, going into new personas that all unlock this rapid growth. And this growth is so big that this year they're projected to do 2x what they did this previous year. Give it a listen. I hope you enjoy this episode. All right, well, let's kick off with, how the heck did you get to $1 million? Like, walk me through what was happening in August and September, and walk me through chronologically, how do we get here?
I think the one thing we established early on with them was they had the best product at the best price, not only in the market, but pretty much every market that they've gone into. So one thing that we established early on, the potential is here. And if we can get the CPAs right for November, that offer is infinite. So we can scale that infinitely. And it doesn't really matter what marketplace we're in because the offer is so good. That just took quite a bit of buy-in early. It was one of those things we had to get, months in advance. And there was a lot of trust factor built in there. But we knew, because the offer was so good and the product and price you just couldn't beat, that we could go into any market and crush for that month. Now, when they originally came to me as a strategist, they were doing about 150 to 200,000 a month, with some tweaks to just positioning, and honestly, them as a brand switched to more drop structure. They started doing about 300,000 a month in July.
Drops, you mean new product drops?
Yeah, so they transitioned their creative strategy really, and I think Meta really likes it when you structure your creative around product drops, right? And so what was so cool about their product drops is that it was more around the ethos than it was the actual product. So how the product made you feel was the drop. So something like Monster Mentality was their most recent drop. We already had a really good product. We already had a really good price. The gap there was just on the emotional side. So if we could come across in the creative and pull emotion with the product, with the price, all the gaps were filled, right? And then you have this flood of creative coming in with every drop that we were doing, that Meta just loves when you flood them with creative.
Was it actually a new product, or just a different color, a different pattern?
Yeah, I think it's sort of like Nike when they release new cleats, right? It's the same product, but it really is a new skin entirely. New, they'll add some sort of technology. They'll add some sort of feature, Kobe coming out with a Kobe 9 or a Kobe 8. To the Kobe 8, it comes with a new mentality of Kobe, whatever that season of Kobe is, right? So yeah, all those things factor in. And what really was the snowballing effect of all of this was that Monster Mentality drop was at the start of November 1st. And so we got to ride a little bit of that momentum of just the fanfare that drop was the most successful drop they've ever had in the first place. And then all of a sudden on the 20th, we dropped this buy one, get one free deal. That's the best on the market by far, with a ton of stock. That was the other buy-in thing, was hey, actually order triple the stock you usually order it, right?
Okay, so take a step back. Yeah. When did you tell them to order more stock, and what was their reaction? Because ordering triple than what they normally were is a huge, ballsy investment.
Yeah, that was a conversation we had sometime in September, and where that came from was we had just seen their Doubters drop, which was the drop before Monster Mentality, and it did really well. I think that the month that we dropped it, it did 300,000 pounds, which $500,000 US dollars. And then looking at that, we looked at last year's Black Friday, and last year's Black Friday had a lot of holes in it. Um, there was that super strong offer, but they didn't introduce new marketplaces. They didn't introduce flash sales. They didn't, there was some key levers, like Black Friday was actually not a good day for them, or as good as it could have been, because they didn't like initiate their fan base again from the original offer drop on November 20th last year.
Do you feel like they weren't as aggressive last year as they were this year as well, like for new customer acquisition leading into Black Friday?
Yeah, not even close to
Mm,
as aggressive, right?
mm,
That mindset was built in September this year, was like, you know, something I told them September, October timeframe was like, our goals should not be, to sell out and get, 600,000, 700,000, which was like the originally kind of where they were at. Our goal should be to not sell out until we hit 1 million,
mm.
right? So that was the initial reaction to that was, you know, but,
So
you know,
you told them that you want to do 1 million, or you think they could do 1 million?
I told them that we can do 1 million. I think where that confidence came from was just seeing the CPAs in the account before November, right? Like if you know your number, if you know your North Star number for them, it's, an AMER of 2.5. We were doing an AMER of 3 in September, no
That's
offers,
nuts,
right?
man.
So
That's nuts.
yeah, so just no offer. Um, they have like one sale tab on their site. It's usually their outdated stock. And so it was a mixture of telling them, hey, like, if we don't sell out, guess what? Now that sale tab looks a little bit thicker and we get to ride that for the rest of the year. And that's fantastic. It's really, there's no downsides to being aggressive in November. If you do flop, you pull back, you regather and you try a different strategy. But the only massive mistake I think most companies make in November is just thinking too small and not
Mm.
spending enough.
So how did you get them to think over that? Because they've been working with us for a long time, and we would say they've been thinking a bit too small or just playing a bit too safe. So how did you convince them to go harder and still to buy 3 times more stock than they normally would? Like, what was there one thing you said, or a conversation, or something you showed them that helped them get over that paradigm shift?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear. Like, I think it's really important. This is the brand that we've been with for a while. It's really important that you have all the right systems in place before you're super aggressive, right? Like, we talk about building a system, breaking the system, rebuilding the system, and then scalar. That happens several times before you're able to be this aggressive, I think. But they were at that point where they had built the systems. They had good cash flow. They had all the right things in place. And I think that's step one, right? That's the boring step that no one likes to talk about. It's just making sure everything's in order. Sometime early this last year, they introduced like an evergreen sale kind of tab on their website. And that tab was, increased conversion rate exponentially on their website. It was great for them, right? And so we kind of walked through like the pros and cons of like, what would it look like to, not order $500,000 of merchandise? What would it look like to order $1 million in merchandise for free golf? So it was essentially double it. I think originally it was somewhere around 400,000. So not quite tripling it. So going from like, $300,000 to $400,000 for the merchandise to then $1 million, over $1 million for the merchandise. The conversation really stemmed from just like, hey, if we shoot for the stars and miss it, you don't have to order that, that excess for the next entire year. So you did really good this year. You have the cash to do it now. There's no reason why we wouldn't have the product now and then sparse it out over the whole year if we don't sell out. It's no big deal. The worst thing they could have done would just be to say, hey, we have this cash. Let's play it safe and not gain as many customers as possible in November. November is the one time where it's okay to be strategically reckless. And so that was the conversation we had. And I think for them, they were also really excited to be aggressive as well. because I'll be honest, it was constant touch base with them. It was
Oh,
24/7.
throughout the sale period, you mean?
Yeah, throughout November, we'll joke that I don't really know when either of us slept, but it was really when you have a brand that is doing that well, and being aggressive, it doesn't take much sleep to keep you excited.
No, you're pumped. Like I
Yeah,
tell, that's why I like telling brands, you have one time a year to make all this kind of money, and that's during Q4. And when you're making that kind of money, you don't want to sleep, you don't want to pull off the gas, you want to spend more and go more aggressive. So it makes me happy to hear like you guys are so pumped, you guys didn't want to sleep.
yeah, and the crazy thing about that is this month, fast forward to post November, they are transitioning warehouses, and so they're trying to pretty much get rid of most of their stock so that that transition of warehouses works out really well. So we said, hey, the goal is let's get rid of this old stock, and we called it the Lazarus Project. And we made a bunch of zombies in Google to get rid of as many of their old products, and we thought the majority of this go on sale. The majority of these customers will be return customers from November. And what's weird about when you have a crazy November is sometimes you get unexpected results in January and you get unexpected results in December, which is the result is because so many people were talking about us, your Instagram feed was just us. Well, the sales cycle and the consideration period for those people that are kind of on the fence is a little bit longer. So now in December, not spending that much money, our new customer percentage is like 75%, which is an
Are you
all-time record.
serious?
Yeah. So
So why aren't you guys spending more money right now?
there's no products. So, we got rid of products too fast, and now, they're trying to, they're they're catching up, which happens a lot when you grow super aggressively. Is there's a catch up period, and then you're able to grow again. But there's a snowball effect of virality, which is what they got in November's. I taste the virality, which is what everyone loves, right?
You mentioned systems have to be in place before a brand can scale like they did. What are some of those systems? I mean, I think that's important for a lot of people to know because you've seen them before they're aggressive. You see them systems break, be rebuilt, and then now to scale. So, like, what are some of those systems?
Yeah, I think one of the main systems that really gets neglected at scale is what your price per product and what your COGS are going to be in situations where you're scaling aggressively. And let's say you need to put a rush order in because you sold out. Let's say you have a smaller boutique 3PL that is used to doing 200 orders a day. Now you just ramp them up to 3,000 orders a day. And all of a sudden you look great in Shopify, but in the next few months, you start getting really negative reviews from customers that never received products, right? Operationally, you need to be at $1 million a month when you're at $300,000 a month,
Yes.
And so that needs to be, and whatever that looks like, if you think, if it makes sense on paper for you guys to do triple the amount that you usually do, quadruple the amount that you usually do in November, if you're one of those brands, get another 3PL for that month. Be prepared.
Is that what they did? Like, do they have like fallback 3PLs in this situation?
They established themselves with a very large 3PL in preparation, and they also have in their marketplaces that we went into, they have established people there as well, so they don't have to rely on just one 3PL, but there's several around the world that they can sparse from. And I think going into November, knowing that we were able to scale the US and Australia at a less efficient rate than the UK because we know our 90-day customer lifetime value is really good. So if you're able to overall have high efficiency and then go out and get those new customers, and that one, the virality rate of your customer is pretty good. Really hard to put on paper, but like basically if the cool kid gets those, you're going to want those too. So just getting them out there. And then two, with juniors, this was something that, drilled into them early on was if you look at the cohorts, the younger audience, they need a lot more than the adult
Mhm.
audience. So they buy about double the rate that the
Yeah,
adult
they
audience does.
size up, they wear them out faster.
100%. And they're much more with the emotional side of the drops. It works a lot better on the kids because they want the new cool thing. They want the new shiny cool toy. And so when we went into those new marketplaces, we said, okay, like we can acquire a junior a little bit
So
less efficient of a rate.
marketplaces, that's different geographies and different
Different
age
geos, yeah,
groups.
different geos, and then different personas. So that was the one
Gotcha.
things that we really honed in on when we went to those different geos, if you want to call geos, um, was what personas are we going after? What are the most valuable personas in those geos, and what personas do we actually have to create it to support? Because that's
Mm,
very important as well.
totally.
And so, yeah, and I think for the most part, like the only thing I regret is that we didn't have the operations and the systems in place to go even more worldwide, right? Uh
It's so funny. Every time you do like $1 million a month, like, oh, I should have done like 2 million. I could have went harder.
100%, right? Like if we had the ability to go to Canada, I'd go to Canada. And so we had the ability to go to Mexico, I'd go to Mexico. So um but
So was that 3PL? Were they international? Because to do those two extra geos or markets, like that, the stock had been in those three different countries, right? Or are they shipping from one centralized location?
they have people that they work with in the US and Australia that take a percentage of total revenue to make sure that their product
I see.
yes gets out in an orderly fashion. So they cover what's really great about uh, to get into the dirty details. What's really great about them is they actually buy those people in the U.S. and the AU markets are the ones that actually buy the product from with our forecasts. So it's important that we sell those guys out. So when I forecasted,
Yep.
hey, we're going to go this hard in the U.S. and we're going to go this hard in the AU, the buy-in was also to get those guys to be like, okay, I trust you guys. I'll buy this stock. So that is kind of how that rolls.
I see. So you guys are like investing to have good partners in the different geographies as well. And then that's why you could be a little less efficient on the ad side.
100%. And I think, that probably wouldn't work for most companies, I would say.
No.
Yeah, 100%.
But it seems like since you guys know how good the LTV is, it's like, yeah, I'm okay to comp it on the chin in the short term because I know once I acquire these customers, especially for kids, like my LTV is going to be 4 or 5 times that in a 12-month period.
yeah, it's interesting when you look at the kids numbers in November and this month have grown at like 3 times the rate of the adult numbers.
I love that so much because I love it because they get to age up with you too. Like for as long as they're doing this thing, there's a high chance they're going to stick with you throughout either their career or maybe at least through their schooling career up into college.
Yeah, and what's beautiful about it too is on the creative side, one of their best ads was a 12-year-old's, right? One of the best ads that we had, the lowest CPAs was a 12-year-old, really cool 12-year-old, really cool kid. A lot more expensive to sponsor pro athletes than it is to sponsor, the amateur. And it's cheaper to acquire kids in that way as well. There's 1,000 things to think about creatively in the persona direction. And then also like with your overall strategy, when we're talking about 90-day LTV and all that stuff, that brings your CPA where it was when we took over, which 25 down to November. In some geos, like $4. So for a
Are
second,
you kidding me? That's like 2018 results, man.
yeah. So for a second, there is just ridiculous. It rebounded back to about $11 to $13 CPAs on them.
I know Luke sent me a message like over that week,
Yeah.
and he sent me a message like what the CPAs were. All I said to Luke was like, "My goodness, how is that possible?"
Back in 2020, and I know you remember the good old days, there was a CPA that you seemed to hit like a wall at, and then you could scale infinitely.
Mhm.
For a brief period of beautiful, like 14 days, we hit that. And it was $14. And no matter how much we spent, it was $14. And so when you have that kind of offer, it's so exciting. And that kind of brand and that kind of product and all the lead up we did, it's all just super worth it. And it's fun. We joke like, yeah, like we could have done more markets. We could have spent more, blah, blah, blah. I mean, next year we will, so that's what's so exciting about it is you go and you reflect back and you say, all right, next year, what does it look like to do 3 million? What does it look like to do 4 million?
Mm.
And you get excited for next year. What does it look like to get there January, February, March, April, May, so that we're in a place that we can do it operationally as well?
So a lot of the founders that I've seen that once they see that they can do big numbers, call it 500,000 a month or a million a month, something I see changes internally where they themselves get more aggressive. What they used to be okay with spending is actually too low. They want to go even more and even harder. Have you guys already had conversations like that for 2026 of how much more aggressive or harder they want to go? Because they're coming into their in season too, right?
Yeah. Right now is their off season. They're gonna come under their on season, which is it's gonna be mayhem. What speaks volumes is this is a brand that we used to get budgets for about 2 months in advance. We would know our budgets and stick to our budgets. And we also had North Star numbers. Going to December, I just got a message that was like, if we hit 3 MER, I don't care. So go. So there is a trust factor built, but there's also scared money don't make money, which once you start to have money, your mindset changes. Once you start to make those numbers, your mindset changes, and it doesn't become like a scarcity mindset anymore. It becomes a mindset of, I've been there, I've done that. I know exactly what numbers I have to hit. I have the trust in my people. I have the trust in my operations, and I can be a lot more flexible with my cash. And that kind of confidence is earned. That kind of comfortability is earned with a lot of uncomfortability. So that's been really exciting to see that change in part kind of.
So the last thing I want to ask you is the team told me that when you told them you could do $1 million, that they laughed at you. What happened in that conversation?
Yeah, it was a chuckle. I think I have a really fun relationship with them. Are super like blunt, and like they'll be real with you, and that's what I love. And I love working with this brand. They're my favorite client. Don't tell that to my other clients. But it's one thing if I show them on paper, like this is what it would look like. And when they laughed, I just was like, hey, like instead of like me showing you, let's just see, right? Like we have what we're gonna do. Instead of like hard numbers, we had a North Star number overarching that 2.5 AMER. That made it a lot easier for us to be like, you know what, it doesn't matter what they think because this is the forecast that I set, and I'm gonna hit that forecasted number. So it was more just like, okay, it was a challenge for me of being like, okay, let me go show you. And it became super evident probably the 20th that wasn't going to happen. It was.
Oh, you thought it wasn't going to happen?
100%. The 20th, when the sale launched, their email team had a pretty massive mess up, and we had a worse day the 20th than their opening day last year, where they did 550,000.
What I think is interesting of this year than previous years is I felt like there was so much more pent up demand until Black Friday hit. Like previous years, a lot of people were spending way before, but that did not happen. And I remember what made me come to this conclusion. I was talking to Tyler on our team, and he was just talking to a Google rep, and the rep showed him some data where they predicted, like, we think there's pent up demand for these metrics and these metrics. And I was like, oh, we're seeing the same thing. And so to hear you say that, but to know how the story ended, like that's exactly what happened. People were waiting until Friday, which is another reason why I'm not a huge fan of going early.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's beautiful about their sale was, it started early, started the 20th. It afforded us some time to prove ourselves that we could actually hit the numbers, which was really nice. But I think that after the day of the 20th, I was like, yep, not going to happen. All right, well, let's just try to get the best number we can get. And then the 22nd, I opened up my laptop and I thought I had the wrong dates or something. I thought I had the wrong numbers. Go back. No, that's right. 23rd hits, and I'm like, okay, like, huh, you know, there's an outside shot at this. Around the 25th, it was like, this is going to happen and we might go a little bit over. So there was a lot of pivoting between the 20th and the 24th.
What was some of those pivots off the top of your head?
Yeah. So I think one thing a lot of brands are scared to do is email too much. There's no such thing as emailing too much during Black Friday.
Well, it's like what you said. Scared money don't make money.
Yeah.
If you're making money every time you send an email, you keep sending emails.
100%. And so luckily their email team messed up. Now that is actually their email team messing up is the reason that we hit a million, because their email team messing up allowed me to step in and be like, our team to step in, not just me, but our leadership team to step in as well. Be like, perfect. Let's send 2 a day instead of 1 a day. And if I could have got them to send 4 a day, I would have. Right. So that changed everything, because what we saw this Black Friday, I didn't see last Black Friday either, is because people were waiting the nighttime. It was almost like people were waiting till Black Friday, but people were also waiting until the nighttime. Like people were seeing how their money was looking and then they would purchase. But compared to last year, the nighttime hours this year were a lot better than last year over all of my brands. I don't know if you experienced that too.
Yeah. You said nighttime better than daytime. Yeah, we noticed the same thing. A lot, like again, like so much money that was pent up, but then once the nighttime hours hit up until like midnight, it was just like a free for all.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what happened.
Don't you guys sleep?
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like the economy is a little bit tighter this year, and I kind of treat like I'll do really good during the daytime when I'm budgeting, and then at nighttime it'll be like a blizzard from Dairy Queen sounds nice. And so that's kind of the same kind of psychology that we saw this year, I think, where money was a little bit tighter, but in those nighttime, it's like, all right, I'm going to get this anyway. I might as well get it now. So sending an email at night really, really sped things up for us. And it's what set us back on the right track. Now, next year, again, that's one of the things we'll do next year is like, why not send 4 a day? And, next year we'll have a lot more GOs, and next year we'll spend this, that. Doesn't really matter. But the thing that we pivoted away from was, less of the storytelling during Black Friday, more storytelling on the off months. Skip the storytelling in Black Friday. I want product shots for creative. I want the offer for the creative, and I want straight to the point in my email. And let's get rid of all of the fluff. And so the 20th and the 21st was just getting rid of all the fluff. And then from then on, it was like a rocket ship. And that's when we were like, okay, we can hit it.
One thing I like about this story is that, you guys have been doing this for like 12 months plus, building up this foundation. Big months like that are built in the months before, not on the actual month, typically.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy that you guys saw such wild success and that this year is going to be even higher than the previous year.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited, man. I think we are primed for not just a massive November, but making some pretty unconventional peaks throughout the entire year with some.
I think for the new markets you guys went into, you did so well in Q4. You haven't even scratched the surface. I think having another 12 months of the building you guys are going to do just in those markets, it's going to be massive because the markets are also bigger than the market that you were just in as well combined. So.
Oh yeah. And like the market is never ending. It's really stupid. The amount of potential this brand has because their product and their offers the best in the market. So we're super excited.
Is that a moat that they have? Like, is there something special on the manufacturing side that they can just sell it at a better quality at a better price point than others? Because it is pretty extraordinary.
It is the greed of their competitors that keeps them from being as...
No way.
Yeah. I think this Q4 was a real challenge to their competitors to look in the mirror and say, is our greed holding us back from being a bigger company?
Well, man, thank you for telling me the story. I heard so many good things about all the work you guys did coming into this account that I want to hear for myself, man. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ray.
See you, mate.